Hello and welcome to Gillette Outdoors. My name is William Gillette and today we're here at Hillsborough River State Park in Florida and I'm going to show you how to make smooth water. So the first and most important part of taking photographs of smooth water is to actually find water that is not smooth. The rougher the better in this case. This is why most of the time you see the smooth water effect, you're looking at photos of waterfalls, rapids, things of that nature. The next most important part is going to be having a good sturdy tripod. You really want to make sure that the camera does not move during the shot. So as I get set up here on the banks of the Hillsborough River, let's talk about camera settings and filters you may need. So basically, when you're making this smooth water, it's just a long exposure. And a long exposure, to try to put it in simple terms, I like to think of it as if you were to shoot a movie, like film, frames per second. Basically, the movie is a bunch of still pictures that are put together one after another, and they're run past a light really quickly, so you're only seeing them for a fraction of a second. Now, if you were to take all those pictures that you shot over that long period of time, stack them on top of each other, anything that was standing still would look like it's standing still. But anything that was moving basically would be blurred. It would be, you would see it here, 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 and here, all at the same time. So that's basically what you're doing when you're shooting a long exposure. You'll see them with star trails. You see it a lot with cloud photography, the streaks in the sky, you know, that kind of thing. Basically, you're seeing a long period of time where everything that's standing still looks crisp and clean. Anything that was moving looks a little bit blurry. So with the smooth water, it's the same exact concept. So what we're going to need to do is we're going to need to cut down on the amount of light that our camera is receiving. And there's a lot of different ways to do that. Very first thing is that sun over there. Normally you wouldn't want to shoot a smooth water type scene in the middle of the day. You can, but it's always better to do it early in the morning, late in the afternoon, really cloudy day. You want a little bit of help from the environment around you. You don't want it to just be direct sunlight. It's going to make it really hard on you. And you're basically going to have to filter up your camera to the point where you can't see through it. So the least amount of sunlight, the better. Another thing, your aperture settings. Basically, you're going to block out as much light with your aperture as possible. So I always start at like f/22, and then I will step my way back up to see how long I can make that exposure. So f/22 is basically going to close the diaphragm of the lens down, so you're letting in the least amount of light possible. Also, one good thing about that is a lot more stuff is going to be in focus. So the key to this looking good is that everything is crystal clear except for the water. So everything around the water should be in focus. To have a very shallow depth of field in a shot like this really doesn't make that much sense. So turn it to f/22 and then work your way back from there. And then your ISO. You want to set your ISO to the lowest ISO your camera will allow. With my camera, I think it's 60, but 100 normally is pretty typical. So set your ISO to 100 because you want your sensor to absorb the least amount of light and the most amount of quality. So now that's your camera settings. After your camera settings, then we move on to filters. Now, I've shot a lot of smooth water stuff where I don't even need to put a filter on. Just those two camera settings alone, I can actually give myself, you know, a second, a 2-second exposure, 2.5-second exposure. And if the water is moving fast enough, you'll get that really high quality looking smooth water effect. But if it's a little too light outside, you may need to add a filter. So filters come in all different shapes and sizes and colors, and what you're looking for is actually an ND filter, neutral density filter. And all that is going to be is basically a tinted pane of glass, and normally when you buy ND filters, they are going to tell you the amount of tint that's on it. I've seen them where they say this is a 10-stop filter. That's basically referring to your aperture. So it would extend your aperture a full 10 stops to make it 10 stops darker. But the good thing about ND is they don't change the color of the image that much. So when you put that filter on there, it's like you adjusted your aperture another 10 full stops to close it out, close it down a little more, make it a little darker. So ND filters, every photographer that does outdoor photography should have at least 2 ND filters in your bag. I have a 10-stop that I use all the time. You can get like 4-stop, 5-stop, so that way you're kind of in the middle there, but you're gonna wanna get ND filter. That's gonna help you stop down some of that light. So this is a circular filter. They also come basically like this. This is a filter frame. It holds square filters. You get a ring goes on your camera. The filter frame attaches to the ring, and then you'll insert a square filter. It looks like this. This just slides into that frame, and it's basically directly in front of your camera lens. There's good and bad to these. You can stack multiple filters in there. I don't know if you can see it or not, but you can actually put 3 filters in this frame. So you can actually make it, different levels of darkness. These are also great. The reason I use mine mostly is for graduated ND filter. So basically you can decide which side of the frame you want to darken and which one you want to stay light. So it's great for sunsets. I recommend a filter holder like this, a little square filter holder, just because you can get real artsy with it. It's not heavy, it's not much to pack.
Once I got my camera set up and made sure my tripod was completely stable, I took a picture using a faster shutter speed so we can show you the difference between the smooth water and just a regular photo. The light here was bright enough to where my camera settings alone would not allow me to get a long enough shutter speed. My ISO is at 100, my aperture is at f22, so I'm going to add a 4-stop ND filter. That should allow me to extend my shutter speed a little longer and smooth out that water. These are the types of shots people think of when they think of smooth water photography. But I wanted to show you something else, because it's not all about rivers and waterfalls. I came across this leaky water faucet and thought that it would be a perfect time to use a smooth water effect. At first I set up my camera and took a picture using a faster shutter speed just so you can see the difference in the two. This faucet was situated directly in a shadow, which allowed me to use just camera settings to get the effect. Aperture of f22, ISO of 100 gave me 2 seconds of shutter speed.
So there you go. I hope that you guys like this tutorial, and I hope that you take that information and go out into the field and use it to take some amazing pictures. Once you do take those pictures, make sure that you share them. Make sure that you share them with us at Gillette Outdoors. We do a monthly photo contest. This month just happens to be smooth water. So go on there, share those pictures right away. You can find us on Instagram. Just look for me, William Gillette. You can go to our website, www.gilletteoutdoors.com. All the information's there on how to do it. Is really simple. You share it, you tag it. We pick the best. You guys get all the credit and accolades and all that good stuff. Sometimes there's prizes involved. So go there and share them. Join this community. It's a great community. We're very like-minded. We all love outdoors. We all love adventure. We all like photography. So it's a great group of people. Go on there and follow us. All right. And get out there. I'll see you on the trail.